What's a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? Mortgage industry here, we're like cops, only answer the question asked, do not provide additional information to be helpful, it could screw you over. What are examples that screw people over? Can I please get your most recent pay stub please? Sure. Here's the last year. Also, I was off work this time to this time, and was technically let go and rehired, so the year to date starts over cool. Now you haven't been employed for a full 6-month time period and I have to deny you. I used to work in college admissions. Rich donors, athletes, and other VIPs had lower admission criteria. They still have minimums, but they're super easy to reach, even for a selective university. In the case of the university I worked for, children of general church authorities also got this. Health insurance dude. When you file a claim, it is often denied because they are counting on you not escalating it. Once you do, your case goes to a medical management group which ought to be called the we don't wanna pay group. Keep escalating and involve your doctor. Fight for the insurance you paid for. Can confirm. Busted my knee, was on crutches BC I couldn't walk on it. Was denied BC they felt I wasn't in enough pain BC I didn't require a painkiller prescription. DR went back and forth and I was on crutches 2 months before they finally relented and I could get my surgery. I worked at Loral. The cosmetics from Loral and Lancome are practically the same. But Lancome costs like $20 more. Had a friend who worked for a bridal dress company. She would tell me all her stories after work. They intentionally will bring back the wrong dress in attempts to get you to try it on, fall in love, and buy a more expensive wedding dress. They'll walk you through the more expensive sections so you look through dresses out of your budget and want to try them on. They often forget to check if the dress you requested is in stock for the time frame you've requested, again so that you'll have to pay more for faster shipping or a nicer dress. It's a very predatory business masked by compliments, thinly veiled body shaming, and incredibly underpaid and understaffed stores. I worked for a major hotel chain in housekeeping for over 10 years. The number of suicides and people who die naturally in their rooms is a lot higher than you'd think. I worked at a huge convention hotel with over 1,000 rooms and it happened quite often. Unless it was a pretty gnarly mess it would just get cleaned like normal and the next guest had no idea. At one of the hotels I worked at, a woman killed herself by drinking antifreeze. Her body was blue, blood, vomit, and damp, poop everywhere. My friend who was maintenance saw it and damp, couldn't sleep that night. Working at hotels will change you. This isn't a company secret, but I worked part-time at a Dominos franchise in college. The owner was, at first glance, a short-tempered, critical penny pincher who did everything he could to save business money, right down to watching over your shoulder to make sure you didn't put too much cheese on a pizza. Cheese is called white gold in the pizza industry, even back in 2002, but after working for him for a while, you realized why he was so specific about the margins. Twice yearly, he would send out generous bonuses, in the form of money orders made out to his employees from his own personal savings account, to the college students working for him. The check's money orders contained the memo line "Keep learning." The amount of the money orders would be directly correlated to the profit margins of the stores he owned. The dude did legit profit sharing. After I graduated, I heard a rumor that he was trying to start up a small education grant trust that would benefit applicants at the Farmer School of Business at Miami University, but I don't think anything ever came of it. This owner also played favorites when hiring. Every single one of his managers was a former employee. 3 of the 4 managers at his stores when I worked there had graduated from my college with business degrees. All 4 of them had a small portion of their education paid for by Marvin Covington. Marvin Covington, Oxford, Ohio Domino's owner from Vevey, Indiana, died in 2017. That dude knew how to do business, and do it right. T-Mobile has two coverage maps. The one they show customers and the real one that is internal shows the actual coverage. Diminishes by about 50%. Their coverage is built on a bed of lies. I worked at Olive Garden in the mid-90s while I was in college. Back then, they had the all-you-can-eat soup, salad and breadsticks lunch special for like $4.25 plus tax. Working lunch shift sucked. You would get probably 2 or 3 tables, and there was a 99% chance that all of your tables were to ladies getting this lunch special with water during their lunch break. After about a year, several over our best servers were mysteriously fired. It turns out, they were running a scam where they used the same receipt over and over again when these ladies paid for their meal with cash. Since we could get those 3 items ourselves from the back without bringing them into the system, these servers were just pocketing the cash for the entire meal. So instead of making like $5 $8 in tips during a lunch shift like the rest of us dumb schmucks, they would make an extra $20 or so by stealing from the company. Dart Sprite and Sprite Zero were the exact same thing. They didn't change the recipe one bit. They just changed the name and design. I've always assumed this, but it's nice to get confirmation. If you were on live chat with customer care, I could see what you were typing before pressing send. I watched people work through grotesque, racist, sexist statements, fraudulent lies and mistruths, meticulous grammar fixes, and their whole range of emotions in real time before deleting and typing OK. I worked at a Petco in Alaska. Apparently brown-black mice are not allowed up here. Only white mice. We got a shipment in of a bunch of black-brown mice and had to take them to the vet to be healed. Also, the animals are literally shipped in on a UPS truck and delivered in packages. I would open a package and it would be full of fish or mice or snakes. Yeah, never knew what was coming. It was wild. Luckily my shift manager was a really good person. She tried her best to help any sick animal and was super diligent about keeping the cages really clean. She would stay after hours to care for the sick animal in the back and double down on cleaning. When upper management came, they didn't give a shit how clean anything was. They would yell at us to get more customers to sign up for pet rewards. If I didn't pester every single person checking out, they would get angry and give me point deductions. I have no idea what the deductions even did. One of the upper managers watched me for like 3 hours when I was at the register. He said I wasn't pushy enough on getting people to donate sign up for sheet. Bitch, I will ask once and if they say no I am not asking again. That sheet is annoying AF. He also got mad at me when I didn't clean the birdcage fast enough. It took time away from the register. I'm sorry, I don't want our birds to stand in their own sheet for hours. So yeah, I'll take my time to scrub that sheet clean. Also, don't buy fish from Petco. Pretty much every shipment that came in they were all infected with ick. Basically half our tanks were in quarantine. We had several customers come back saying we killed their entire fish tank because of a fish we sold them. Duck Petco. I'll say it. A place similar in name to Past Face Urgent Care, at least in the region I worked at, banned their front desk from informing customers that they have a credit balance to use toward their services and still required us to charge customers the full price on top of what we already owed them. Some accounts had like $500 of copay that should have been refunded but weren't. I was actually reprimanded for applying the credit balance, because despite finance agreeing my method was correct, the regional manager said it was not a good look for the company and hindered her profits. I don't think it's a bad secret at all. But back in college, I delivered pizzas for Papa John's. The store manager must have had an undiagnosed case of OCD or germophobia or something. Because every night, he would assign someone to do the cleaning duties, mopping floors, double checking expiration dates, throwing away expired stuff, etc. And every night, he would absolutely lose his temper and berate whoever was doing the cleaning. They were going too fast, they weren't cleaning everything, whatever. After that, he'd always take over the cleaning himself. He was amazingly picky about the cleanliness and food quality. Expiration date is 3 days from now. Duck that, I'll order more. Throw that sheet away, we're not serving it. He would also go out of pocket to buy special cleaning products because that worthless bullshit that corporate wants us to use doesn't get the job done. He also went out of pocket to hire some kind of specialist to clean out the fountain drink dispenser, ice machine and all that stuff. The machine needs to always be as close to brand new as possible. One standout moment for me was when he reduced a cashier to tears by hollering, "Would you eat off this floor?" No? Then it's not clean enough. He wasn't telling her to eat off the floor. He was just making a point. After we'd close the store, he'd kick all of us out, lock up behind us and stay until something like 2 AM cleaning the place. You always knew when he closed because you could smell the chemical scent still lingering in the air. The end result of this was the store, the food, the equipment and the facilities were always in squeaky clean condition. Customers, somehow, picked up on what a perfectionist the store manager was and bought from us all the time. Because there's a lot of peace of mind that goes in with knowing your food was cooked by someone willing to throw ingredients away before the expiration date, stay in the store until God knows when cleaning everything, etc. The true irony was how much the boss hated himself because he didn't think he was doing a good enough job to run a clean restaurant with fresh ingredients. It didn't matter how many compliments he got from customers or how many service industry veterans said they'd never worked in a place as obsessive about freshness and cleanliness as his Papa John's store. He was convinced his store was still a filthy barn. Eventually, he got promoted to some kind of high-level corporate position, district manager, that required him to visit other stores and make sure they were all up to spec. The end result of that was a lot of stores in this area all improved seemingly overnight. I worked for a restoration company. One time an elderly woman called them to clean her house. She was a hoarder or there had been a fire. I can't remember. Anyway, the company charged $57,000 for the work to be done, but in actuality they couldn't even get the charges to add up to $20K. She couldn't file this on her insurance. There are other examples of gross overcharging, but this is the worst I know of that wasn't on the large loss side. The lesson here, if you have water, fire, mold, or hoarder damage and call in a company to clean it up, go through every line item on the invoice. Every single one. The vehicle modification shop at Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio dumps waste coolant from the machine shop into a storm drain that empties directly into the Scioto River, because the chemical disposal tank is a 55-gallon drum in the paint shop, and that's much too small. They can't throw me into solitary confinement for complaining anymore. Edit. This happens about once a year, when the machine's coolant reservoirs are emptied and the coolant replaced. It's not on a schedule, it's one of those things that you do when work is slow. Each machine holds 15-20 gallons, and usually you just add more as it evaporates, but eventually it gets nasty and needs replaced. It's supposed to go in a waste tote to be disposed of safely, which is what every non-government machine shop does. Being able to prove this is being done would require knowing when they're going to do this, and that's a decision that's often made spur of the moment. Hey, work is slow, let's have a cleanup day. There aren't any phones in the machine shop, either. Edit 2. A container to store the waste properly costs $200. Why waste taxpayer money when we can just poison the taxpayers instead? I still work here, but everyone please get a copy of your medical records from every place you've been to. Keep the hard copy in your home because I have horror stories from working in medical records since 2007. Working in a field that involves medical records, I totally agree. The number of times I've seen false diagnoses, other people's information mixed in, and assorted other crazy stuff is too high. Ford parts from Mexico are way more reliable than Ford parts from Detroit, or at least they were before 2020. I worked in Detroit and we had some customers who were fussy about us always doing repairs with Michigan parts. But when we had a problem that wouldn't stay fixed, we would always secretly switch to the Mexican parts, which did solve things. I was a prison guard a decade ago and we installed some facial tracking software in the surveillance cameras. One of the inmates panicked while cleaning the unused solitary confinement cells, which is usually a desirable job. It's easy as duck and nobody pays attention to you, and he insisted that he be moved out of that job because there was a ghost. The ranking officers decided to check the new cameras, and the security software claimed it saw a face behind the inmate at the same time as he was visibly startled in the camera footage. We're all aware there are mundane reasons why a new facial recognition system would think it saw a ghost, but since the inmate and the security software both thought there was a ghost, it was decided that the inmate should be immediately transferred at no penalty. Worked at a American Toyota dealership in the body shop for 12 years. We would throw away literally everything regardless of the environmental impact. Car paint, which is nasty sheet BTW, went straight to the dumpster. Radiator fluid? Down the drain. I even saw someone put oil down the drain a couple times even though we had barrels for it up in the service department. The only thing we saved was old car parts which the boss then sold to scrap yards and pocketed the money. The painter didn't ever wear a mask either. He is around 60 and still kicking despite 30 years of painting without a mask somehow. Home Depot. Most security cameras are fake. Easy to steal and amp. Most stores have no security loss prevention. Buy the clearance items that end in $3. After that, the next step of the markdown process is the dumpster. Dial 676 on any desk phone to live page on the overhead speakers. Fun to mess with that. Buy the products in front, it's newer. The old product gets pushed behind continuously. If you see a reduced tag item, usually larger items, appliances, vanities, etc. Slight damage, ask someone to scan for the price. Most times they are not updated and will be cheaper than the tag says. Free bottles of water for customers behind the customer service desk. Your warranty service part that took 8 months actually arrived 3 weeks after they paid the invoice. They didn't even order it for 7 months. They told you it was manufacturing delays and supply chain issues, but in reality they couldn't afford to pay their bills and had to pick and choose which orders to place. You weren't a priority. They were just really bad at budgeting and damage control. Teachers are so burned out they would rather give your student a passing grade than having to deal with them or you again. Especially you. Teachers really want what's best for the kids, but parents are the absolute worst part of the job. The stain protector is only useful if you actually file a claim. It isn't a magic ducking potion. Most furniture companies sell some sort of stain protector as an add-on. People buy it, thinking it has some magic ability to prevent stains over the life of a piece of upholstery, then, 5 years later, spill some Kool-Aid on that sheet, and the stain doesn't come out. With most of these protectors, there's a warranty claim process that will get you a new sofa, or a new set, if your sofa pattern isn't made anymore, but nobody ever files a claim. That's the gimmick. The company is counting on you not actually holding them to the deal that they made you, and virtually nobody does. I used to work as a receptionist at an upscale salon. While I was there, the salon introduced a new line of products marketed towards men. Up until that point most of our products were marketed towards women, but the execs saw that we were getting more male customers. Every item in the men's product line was about half the cost of our other products. The men's shampoo was the exact same shampoo the salon had been selling for years, but because they put it in black packaging with the word man on it, it was half the price. The owner's explanation was, well, men don't want to pay that much for hair products. For the rest of the time I worked there, every time a woman came up to buy that shampoo I'd tell her that the men's shampoo was the exact same product for half the price. Inbound call center. There is no such thing as a silent hold. You are on mute. We could still hear you, but this isn't done maliciously so we can listen in. We had targets for hold time and putting you on mute instead used zero hold on that call and brought the average down. Sometimes we were asking a colleague for input, Sometimes we were avoiding an awkward silence while the computer took forever to load. Personally, I did it a lot because I can fix your issue account easier when you're not yapping in my ear with stupid questions. And also I might wanna call the last person you spoke to some very bad words for messing it up or bullshitting you in the first place. Dating websites don't want you to find love. They're designed to squeeze as much money out of you as possible before you cancel, and partly rely on people forgetting to cancel a subscription and put deliberate barriers in the cancellation process. I was using Match.com back in the day. When I cancelled my subscription, they kept my profile up like I was still a member. So if someone emailed me, I could not respond as I was not a member. Then they would contact you to get you to subscribe so that you could respond. I quit cause I was in a relationship. It became nearly impossible for me to keep my profile from showing when I was no longer a member. Finally, I deleted everything from my profile so there were no pictures, no meaningful content, so when they put it up anyway, nobody would be duped and respond to it. Those orgs are scummy. It would not surprise me if many of the profiles were just made up by the company and not people who really exist, but can't prove that one. All new clothing and everything you try on is dirty. I've worked in retail for years and it still shocks people, but there's no washing machine or disinfectant spray or wipes. Nothing. I've opened boxes of new clothes that had white bugs coming out of it. Seen woman after a workout class come and try clothes on and just leave still sweaty from the class. One older lady left dime-sized skin flakes in the clothes she tried on. Not to mention whatever happens when they return the item or what happened in the factory. People are gross. Nothing is clean. Always wash your clothes when you get them home. In the United States, one company's bread and butter was simply reboxing and relabeling computer monitors from China to make it seem like they were from the company and made assembled in some way by them. I work for a wholesaler. You would be surprised how many companies simply source merchandise and sell it without ever touching it. We ship it direct to their customers for them, just swap the return address for theirs. Right around the same time a major retailer had its largest warehouse burned down. It fired a huge number of its store managers under the guise that their stores were experiencing unusually high theft rates of 2 million plus after its annual shrinkage report. They fired my store manager and tried to tell me that we had a near $3 million shrinkage. I spent 12 hours with a full crew of salaried managers trying to locate the missing items within the store. I'm talking full-blown arcade machines, furniture, etc. We found nothing outside of a display the counting crew missed. The warehouse was burned down within a week or two of this. They are still filling in some of these store management spots. One of our best restaurant in my town is locally famous and everyone goes there. They say everything is homemade. The thing they are famous for is the hot beef sandwiches, with homemade potatoes and gravy, and the fish fry. The fish fry they also have during the week listed as an entree called the cod platter. It is instant Cisco brown gravy mix and instant Cisco mashed potatoes. The cod is only fresh and fried on Fridays. If you order it during the week, it is frozen breaded Cisco fish fillets or a blend of random fish shaped into a stick. One of the biggest banks in the US would routinely forge clients' signatures when they leave without double checking all the pages. Since originals are held at the branch, and copies are faxed over, there's many ways for them to lift a signature from another source and place it where it's needed. Edit, it wasn't Wells Fargo. Apple will do anything they can to not receive negative press, even going so far as to throw their own stores under the bus. I used to work at an authorized reseller and repair depot, and once had a customer get incredibly angry over a policy Apple themselves created and enforced. The customer called Apple customer support to complain, and then came in the next day with a smug attitude and a sheet-eating grin. They showed me the email they received from Apple that claimed 1. We didn't know what we were talking about. 2. The policy we mentioned didn't exist. And 3. That they were now entitled to a free repair since we misled them. Then, when I didn't follow the policy on the next customer, since Apple themselves told the first customer the policy didn't exist, my store was fined because we didn't follow the policy. Was a slot tech at a casino. The machines have to pay back a certain percent over a certain amount of time. Play the slot machines in the bar counters. They are set to return a higher percent in that same time, sometimes up to 8-10% higher than the lowest machines. Stay away from machines in high traffic areas and near the doors. Worked at an ISP, we lied to customers daily about speeds and delivery times. We sold internet in stations we knew were full, and DSL is just garbage. Don't had a single customer in 7 years who actually got the speed we promised. The burned out rates in support was 3 months before people quit. If you tried to actually help customers, you got chewed out and was a problem. I worked in the seafood industry for many years. 2 things immediately come to mind. First, don't ever buy the pre-marinated cuts of fish that are sometimes for sale at the counter. Those are cuts that are about to turn bad, or already have, and the marinade is only there to mask the poor quality and smell. Second, more of just and for your information, but a lot of the fresh lobster meat you see is made up at least partly from dead and dying lobsters. Tanks and crates are checked daily, sometimes more frequently during the summer months, and the lobsters that croaked overnight are cooked and shucked for their meat. If you see a lot of straight tails, steer clear. Gross. I know you're not supposed to eat animals that died on their own, but seafood especially. Also, having worked at a seafood counter myself, part of my job was removing the little worms that would surface out of the wild caught fish. Can't get around fish having parasites, but it didn't sit right with me. Was also told not to correct people who thought the salmon and tuna was sushi grade. If someone came in saying they wanted to make poke or sashimi, I had to sell it to them with silence and a smile. I worked at a call center in college that sold a 12 cassette tape program that would help you read photographically. We sold it for $200. The guy who came up with this idea wrote a book and sold it for $19.95. The call center owners paid him to make it a $200 cassette program. The shipping and handling was $19.99. It was all bullshit. If you get cold calls or sales calls and you live in the UK, saying remove my name or remove my number does not work, as we will literally just remove the data you asked us to remove. Companies can keep hold of any information they have, as you have not asked them to remove that information. If you ask them to remove all of your details, however, by law, we have to delete every piece of data we have on you. For reference, I worked in a call center for life insurance, and people would apply online for a quote, receive a call from us to confirm their information, and we would pass them through to life insurance consultant. Everything we did was legit and legal, we just had to follow GDPR regulations. I worked for one of the big 3 credit agencies after they purchased our company. The sheer amount of data I had access to was bonkers. Even if I worked from home, I could still access millions upon millions of people's financial and personal data. Things have since changed there after a major, months-long breach, after my time there, but looking back, it was insane I could see all of this info. Oh, I love this one. I used to work for a software company that built software for call center transcribing and analysis. Essentially, every time you hear this call may be recorded for this purpose. You are being recorded. Most call centers are recording you for analysis. These calls go through a transcription engine and are then redacted of personal info, since the transcripts are then stored in an enormous database. The company I worked for took it a step further and developed 2 new interesting products. One analyzed calls in real time, and would alert managers if an agent was breaking script, angering a caller, or skipped legal jargon they were supposed to read. The other product was an AI training on tens of millions of hours of call audio. This AI would be used to develop better answering bots, better analysis results, and other things that AI could do much faster than humans. I left when the RE department was still in its infancy, but it was a crazy project to see start. It was the most advanced software system I've worked on to date, and if you've called a company in America, you've likely been recorded and analyzed by it.